Hello there, and thanks for joining me today. My name is Deepa Robbins from DeeZinesByD, and today I have another Make the Cards Challenge post for you today. Now, this video is all about foiling for the most part today. I want to show you how to foil a pattern. And these are one of the hardest things to do because you have to get your spacing just right and your foiling just so. So, if you're new to foiling, I have some tips that you can use here, and even if you're an avid crafter, go ahead and continue watching and I'll show you some tips and tricks to get your foiling just so. Now, as I said, this is a Make the Cards Challenge post, and this week's post is a sketch challenge. So I'm going to show you the sketch post in just a second here, and that's exactly how I made my card. So as you can see, it's a very nice sketch, and I made my card based on this. And you can always add a bit more or do a bit less. It's completely up to you. You interpret that post however you'd like. So let's get started. I'm using some nice light blue cardstock here and the Spellbinders Fanfare border Glimmer plate set. So as you can see, it has 3 different plates. I'm only going to be using 2 of them. One is the bottom border and the other one is the pattern that you kind of build up. So let's start with the bottom border. First tip, attach your plate using the hinge method. So I got this tip from Yana. She does the Spellbinders, a lot of the Spellbinders foiling videos. So I actually just stuck my tape on the back of my cardstock, put my plate down exactly where I needed it, and then pulled the tape over top to get that hinge. Now, I'm using the Spellbinders matte gold foil because this actually looks really nice, especially on this blue. And another tip I have for you is to take your time and position your foil accurately. So I usually edit out all of the little finicking that I do, but here I wanted to show you that you really do kind of have to get your foil on there just so before you actually foil it. Now I've done my foiling here already, and I did add, as you can see, some extra tape to make sure that I had that exactly where I wanted it. Definitely don't worry about any overfoiling because you can always fix that, and I will touch base on that again a little later on. For now, let's go ahead and foil the next part of this. So I'm actually attaching this in the hinge method, and you can see that I attached that washi tape right over top of the foil. If you put that tape down just lightly and use a low tack tape like this, it's not going to take your foil off, okay? So don't worry about it. Now, another tip that I have here is use the foil that you've already used to do your foiling. I find that this comes in handy because now that you've picked up the foil wherever you need it, you can see the pattern through your foil. This helps you line up your next plate. Now, if I used a solid piece of foil, I wouldn't be able to see the pattern underneath and I wouldn't be able to line up my plate correctly. So now that I have it lined up on my foil and I can see that pattern through the foil that I already foiled, I can get that pattern nice and lined up correctly. So now you can see I put that through and that is totally lined up perfectly. So again, I'll show you just so that you can see this again. So here's my foiled foil. I'm using that again, and I've noticed that it's going to be hard for me to line it up here. I'm going to have to cut it down a bit at the top. So this time I made my hinge at the top, and now as you can see, as I line up that foil, it becomes solid again. So that's why this makes it easy to line it up. It basically helps you see your pattern underneath and helps you foil. Like you can see here, I have a mess up there. That's what I'm showing you. I have like some extra double foiling and it's kind of like not straight. Don't worry. You can always fix all these mistakes up with some die cuts here and there, cover it up with some jewels. You don't always have to be perfect. You know, it is an art, it is craft, and you can always think of little ways to fix your tiny mistakes that no one's even going to notice. So anyways, let's continue here and then I'll show you how I covered up that mistake. So this is the first thing I'm doing. I'm adding that little gold strip. This is some Sizzix gold glitter cardstock, and I'm using my ruler to get it in the exact spot that I want it, lined up in the center, or at least like a bit near the bottom of my card, but I want it to be straight. That's the main thing. So you can see I kind of covered up a little bit of that error that I made. And then I'm going to add my white piece of cardstock on the top. So I will attach that. I'll take off one piece of my double-sided tape here and line up that bottom bit with the line. So that's the main thing you want to do, is make sure that it's lined up straight here with that middle line. Now, once I've got that done, I'll take off all the other backings to the tape and attach that nice and well so that it's permanently adhered. And then I'll just cut off the excess paper with my guillotine cutter here, which is really great, I do have to mention. So next we'll move on to do my sentiment. I'm using Spellbinders Yana's Christmas Sentiments. And as you can see, I did some overfoiling. Not a big deal. Here's another little tip. So this is the Couture Creations Detailer tool, and you can get this from any store online. I will link it up in my blog. And if you don't have this, you can just use a sand eraser and just go over all of the little areas where there's some overfoiling. It just erases it. It really isn't that big a deal. You can definitely fix it up. So now I'm going to cut this out with my die here. I don't actually know where this die set is from. It was kind of like a generic set of dies that I bought a long time ago. I'm sorry I don't have that for you. But tons of companies have these shapes of die, so I'm sure you can find it anywhere. Now I've cut out my sentiment on my pink cardstock there, and then I also cut it out again out of some Sizzix Opulent matte gold cardstock. So again, this matte gold is going with the matte gold that I've used as the foil. I added a bit of the gold glitter cardstock just to add a bit of variation, and I will continue to add some more of that glitter cardstock later on. So now I've kind of attached those two pieces in an offset fashion to create a shadow. And I'm going to cut out all my little die cut pieces for interest. So I'm using Spellbinders Simply Perfect Layered Blooms die. And I cut out all of those little blooms and the little branches along with those little star-shaped flowers in some gold glitter cardstock. Then I'm going to be using this Spellbinders APG Pop-Up 3D Vignette Poinsettia Sleigh. This came out last year and it is still available in the shop. I'm using the little branch and the poinsettias here. The branches I cut out of the gold glitter and white cardstock, and then the poinsettias out of dark and a bit of a lighter red cardstock. Then I'm using Spellbinders Slimline Kaleidoscope Hearts. I'm not actually using the hearts, just these little fronds, these little leaf fronds here in a lighter green cardstock. Then I'll use this Spellbinder set to cut out these few little leaves out of a little bit of a darker green cardstock. So all of these sets, I do want to mention, they're past club kits, and I do have a little link on the left bar on the sidebar of my blog that you can click on to go ahead and find those. Now I'm using my little Sizzix foam pad along with this Spellbinders Tool-in-One with the 6mm stylus, and I'm going to use that to shape my flowers. So this is generally how I shape them and how I put them together. So I will add a bit of glue to the center and put that little flower in the center and just use that stylus to kind of stick it down. Now it's best not to rub it around in a circle like I did, because it does move the flower. So the best thing to do is to attach your flower and then just push down in the center. That just adds some pressure down there so that you're attaching the flower properly. Now I have a story about this branch. So I love this branch in the layered bloom set that Spellbinders has, but they also have a Christmas bloom set. And for the longest time since it's come out, every time I go to buy something, it's out of stock at the Spellbinders store, at Simon Says Stamp, online, anywhere. I cannot find this set. So I decided to use the layered mini Spellbinders bloom set to kind of create my own rendition of this. So as you can see in the top left corner, this is what the actual Christmas blooms look like in that set, but I'm going to use those little stars that come with the simple layered blooms and this little branch that comes in the same set to kind of make my own version of those little bell formed branches that they have in the Christmas blooms. And you can see it kind of looks similar, so you can kind of get the same look. So that's a good point to note if you can't get your hands on that set either. I'm still waiting and I will eventually get it, but for now this will do. So I will go ahead and assemble my card as so. I'm just going to put down the sentiment card in the center there. And now I'll add all of those little die cuts. Now this is where you get to cover up that mistake. So take note where you're putting your little die cuts. So here I will put this little branch on the left side. And for disclaimer notices or just in terms of making sure that I give credit where it's due, I did use the same color scheme that Yana used for one of her recent cards, her cards that did use the Christmas bloom set. So this, if you looks kind of familiar, it's just because I use the same color scheme. Not everything's the same, so that's important to note. I did make my own design, just the same color scheme. So here, this poinsettia, what did it do? It covered up that mistake. Oh my god, that was great. So I didn't have to go and refoil everything. All I did was cover up that little area, and it works with the design and the sketch as well. So definitely don't give up. Keep trekking along, and there's ample ways that you can cover up any little mistakes that you make. So I will go ahead and make this bunch of branches on the left side of my card here as well to kind of match the right. Now, if you looked at the sketch, it doesn't actually have any flowers. It just has like a couple branches sticking out of the center. As I said, you can interpret that sketch how you want, as long as it's basically similar. So I thought that these flowers would be great. I could have probably left them out, but I did want to cover up that little mistake that I made. Plus, I think that that pop of red just adds a little bit more to the card. So they were a little bit of an essential thing to add for me. So now that I've done that, I will use my black and white crystal LolliBeads. I've mentioned this before. These are nail art gems. You can find them on Amazon. I will link them in my blog. I'm using the black for the centers of the poinsettias, and then I will use the white just around the card. Now here's another opportunity you have to cover up any mistakes that you might have made. Just pick a jewel or a gem or any type of embellishment that can cover up any little, if you have any areas where you've underfoiled, just stick a gem there. If you have any areas that are not too big that you've overfoiled, stick a gem there. Definitely make it work for you. So for the inside of my card, I chose to foil that bottom part of the border on a couple pieces of that light blue cardstock, and I cut them out. Now this just makes it easier to foil on a separate piece of cardstock and then stick it onto my card versus having to foil my whole big card here, because it's hard to sometimes fit it through my Big Shot. Even though I do have the Big Shot Plus, which has a larger area for die cutting, is sometimes with the foiling, and when you have to foil more than once, it doesn't quite fit through. So I attached those two borders on the top and bottom of the inside of my card, and for a bit more interest and to tie in the theme from the front, I'm adding a few more of these little die cut pieces, just like I had on the front. Now for the inside of the card, I do try my best not to add gems, because what I find is when you put this through the mail, the gems on the inside tend to make an impression on the top inside of your card. So when I'm embellishing on the inside, I tend to use like flat sequins or flat confetti, not gems. And so that's why on the center of my poinsettia, you'll see I use just a little, like a few glitter cardstock circles, which also is a die that comes with this set, the Sleigh set, the pop-up vignette set. So you can use that instead on the inside of your card. So I'll just put all my little leafy fronds together here, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp out my sentiment for the inside of this card. And I do like these small little leaves that come with the mini envelope set, because it just gives you a variation of leaves with the poinsettia. Now, I have this Alta New Blessing stamp set. I use this for a lot of my Christmas cards. I have this set and another Alta New set that works great for card insides. So I'll stamp that out with some black VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink, and that's pretty much all I'm doing for the inside of my card there. So once I've attached the front, this is the final product you get, and it actually turned out really nice. So I'm actually really digging these sketch challenges that the Make the Cards Challenge blog has. I really do encourage you to go on over to www.makethecardschallenge.com, check out the designer inspirations, and make your own project and link it up. You could be the winner for the week, which will be featured every Tuesday. And I hope that you guys all liked my video today. I hope that you've picked up some tricks and tips on foiling and covering up mistakes. If you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos that I do post. Please also, if you get a chance, check out my blog because I have a lot more inspiration and a lot more card ideas there. And I'm going to just leave you here with another video and then a playlist of mine plus my subscribe button. I hope you all had a great time viewing, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.